Coronavirus and You TV program.
At Manzi Valley, we pride ourselves in giving you the cleanest and safe
TV studios. I'm Frederick Chitangala with you. Today, like most of you know that have been following me on Facebook, I am alone. And the reason is simple. I want to give you as much time as possible for you to interact with me and help me. The big question we are asking today, what should the government do to fight this demon in our midst called COVID-19? I am live on this TV station, and of course I'm live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Please follow my name on Facebook or PRISM Africa TV, and you will be connected to this live transmission of the very, very important TV program and discussion today. That is going to save our souls. As a matter of update, as we stand today, there are almost 14 million confirmed cases in the world and almost 600,000 deaths. Out of that 14 million, 8.2 million have recovered, leaving us with about 5 million that are actively sick, and only about 60,000 are seriously, critically ill. USA, of course, tops the chart with 3.7 million confirmed cases, Brazil 2 million, India 1 million, Russia 752,000, Peru 341, and guess what? Number 6 is South Africa. Here in Africa, 324,000 cases. So Africa is featuring in the top 10 of the highest coronavirus cases in the world, and this is not sounding good. We used to think 3 months ago that perhaps Africa is immune to this virus, or perhaps something is special about us. Why are we not suffering like our friends? But now we are seeing, slowly by slowly, one of us is getting into the top 10, and who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 months. Will South Africa be next to the USA? We don't know. And what determines confirmed cases? Is it testing ability? Is it the actual cases? What do you think is happening in our communities right now? Zambia, as we talk, from the last update by the Minister of Health, has got 1,895 confirmed cases. 1,895 confirmed cases with 42 deaths. Out of that 1,800, we have 1,400 that have recovered, leaving us with about 41 active cases. We are about 18.4 million in Zambia, but only 56,825 tests have been done. Should we be happy that we only have 1,800 cases? Our friends have got hundreds of thousands of cases. Is that the actual number of cases we have, or it's reflected by what we are able to test? Why do we have low numbers of COVID-19? It's cold season, and the cases are spiking up. From what the minister said in the last update, we noticed a very huge spike of new cases and deaths, including BIDs. If what we are seeing on social media is correct, which is not official yet, we are yet to be surprised, because if indeed there are about 20 BIDs coming in related to COVID in hospitals every day, then we have a problem. If indeed we have about 400 cases in the last 24 hours as of yesterday, as reported by some social media groups, then we are in for a big shock. And this is why we're asking today, what should we do? What should the government do? Look at this. Airports are back to normal. But of course we know countries around us are not flying. So I don't know who's going to fly in. But we know there are some flights coming in. People are coming into the country, I even know some people who flew in today and tomorrow they're up and about. I don't know whether the 14-day mandatory isolation or quarantine is still applicable. Markets are as crowded as ever, and people there don't know about social distancing. They don't know about wearing masks. Public transport is operating as though everything was normal. People are fed up with masks and all new normal guidelines. Sport is slowly getting back. Soccer is actually back. 3 months ago, you could not enter a shop without being asked to sanitize or wash your hands. But today, some shops you can enter, nobody's going to bother. Funerals are limited to 50 people on paper. But if you've been to funerals recently, that number can go by 6. It's 300, 400 people at the funerals. And these even big security-controlled cemeteries are allowing people without even caution. Now we hear cases and deaths are going up. We are in that flu season. We need to be worried. The capacity of government to test is being tested. Someone inside the COVID isolation center at UTH tells me it's full to capacity. This is the right time to ask, what should the government do to reverse this? Because the 1,800 you've been told about may not be the correct one. There are more cases than you think. To kickstart my discussion with one of you, I'm going to make a call to someone very far from Lusaka, and I want to hear their thoughts.
Hello?
This is Coronavirus and UTV program with Dr. Frederick Chitangala. Mr. Maimpa, thank you so much for joining us.
The pleasure is mine, Doc. Thank you.
I read with interest one of your posts on Facebook today, actually, or was it yesterday? You wrote an article about 5 possible reasons why COVID-19 morbidity cases and mortality deaths are low in Africa, let alone in Zambia. And you put a disclaimer there, but still, these are very important topics and points that we think we should put across for public scrutiny and perhaps for educational purposes. Could you please take us through some of these thoughts that you have before I can ask you a few more questions?
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. To start with, I'm humbled that you have been reading my post, let alone this post that I made last night.
Would you want to introduce yourself to my viewers, what work you do?
Okay. Thank you so much. Like you rightly said, my name is Maimpa Mumba. I'm a public health officer in the Ministry of Health in Zambia.
Mm.
Yes. I'm actually your proud former student, but
Yes. And you are based in which province, which district, if you don't mind?
Sure, but I'm based in Western Province, in particular Kalabo district.
Wonderful.
Currently, I'm also president of the Public Health Association of Zambia.
Okay.
So, in a nutshell, this is who I am. I am actually also district surveillance officer for Malawi.
District?
Public health surveillance officer.
Oh, wonderful. You definitely are one of the right people that we need to hear from regarding this issue. Now, let's get into your thoughts on why you think the cases are low.
Okay. So, to start with, like you indicated earlier, I came up with 5 observations that I personally think could be the cause for low numbers in terms of morbidity and mortality in Africa, and The first one that I pointed out is the fact that generally, unlike the West, Africa is characterized by a youthful population as a majority. So when you look at that, on the other hand, COVID-19 has been seen to be seriously affecting more of the geriatric, which is the old people, than youth. So when you consider this part, you will realize that the African population, taking this factor, isolating it as a sole factor, you will realize that it would just be right for us to think that we are kindly saying we are relatively safer because of our population. Because the majority of our population is in the youth, and as compared to the white.
Okay, so that's an interesting observation.
Thank you.
We know, and of course, we were happy to learn of that we have an expansive kind of population pyramid, where you have majority of our population crowded around the bottom part of the pyramid. But now we are having evidence that suggests that this new strand of virus, and God forbid it has mutated, seems to be attacking even the young ones.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is what you said. But what about the issue of the race? Do you think there's anything to do with that?
Yes, actually, that was one of the points that I raised.
Yeah, and I want to combine that with your point number 3, because it's not really in the race, it's in the exposures that Africa perhaps has exposed itself to. We are constantly exposed to different viruses, Ebolas, name it. Do you think that gives us some kind of protection?
To a great extent. To start with, I have no scientific proof to that effect, but with the basic science that I know, I think that the African gene is more resilient to COVID-19, compared to other genes. However, knowing that with the point that you raised on environment, it is a known fact that in Africa we are exposed to quite a number of disease-causative agents, including coronaviruses. And it is that exposure that we can possibly attribute to in terms of our capacity to build herd immunity against coronavirus. So that is the point that I was trying to stress. So it is an issue of our genotype as well as our constant exposure to similar viruses that can probably give us enough, immunity and later on build herd immunity against COVID-19.
Wonderful. Let's look at the last 2 points. You talked about perhaps the reason why we have these low number of cases may not necessarily be because of what we've already said. Maybe because we are not just testing. We do have hundreds of thousands of people living with this virus in the community, but we are not able to find them because we can't test. We don't have the capacity. What do you say about that?
Apparently, I was looking at the statistics on testing in Zambia. I wish I had enough time to just check through the record so that I give precise, statistics. But it is a known fact that we have fewer tests conducted in African countries compared to our European counterparts.
Yeah.
And so, with these levels of testing, it's very difficult for us to assume that the numbers that we have are a true picture of what is prevailing in our country, Zambia inclusive.
Yeah.
So I feel the only way that we can arrive at true statistics is when we have massive testing of the population. Yes, Doc.
Do you think, finally, before I let you go, do you think that perhaps in African countries, I don't want just to be specific for Zambia, in African countries, we are not being told the truth in terms of statistics?
Wow. That's a little bit too heavy for me.
You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer. We're not talking about Zambia here, and I don't want to put you into problems. We are talking about Africa generally. Do you think we have any reason to hide the statistics? Is there a reason why we should hide the statistics from the people?
Okay, much as I may not know whether we have reason to hide statistics.
Yeah.
I strongly think that the numbers that we are given generally are not true. So it could be that they're higher or lower, but most likely lower.
Okay.
But as to the reasons, I'm not really competent enough to point out any reason why there's that disparity. But I strongly believe that we are not having true numbers.
Okay. Mr. Mumba Maimpa, thank you so much for appearing on my program, and I hope one of these days I'll call you again just to hear what's happening in that part of the country.
Ejijo jijila jimwe jakulikinga kuli omusongo bambangwabo coronavirus chipwe COVID-19. Kosenu maboko enu na njapau kubiza kandana mwenye kalwola chiku vwalenu bya kumikinga kuli omusongo wa corona. Ejijo jijila jimwe jakulikinga kuli omusongo bambangwabo coronavirus chipwe COVID-19.
Chitangala, today I am a one-man commando on the show. I've just finished talking to somebody from Western Province, and I hope you heard his personal views on what he thinks should be done to ensure that we fight this virus. And one of them is enhancing testing. What do you think the government should do to enhance our protection against coronavirus? The phone is open now because, as you saw, I was on phone with somebody from Western Province, so I couldn't take your calls, and I was using another number. But the studio number you're seeing on the screen there was actually free. That's why some of you were, it was ringing, but I wasn't picking. But so now you can call. I want to hear your views. What do you think the government should do right now to reverse what is looking like might be a very, very bad time for Zambia, specifically Africa generally, and the world indeed? So let's have those phone calls come through. Okay. Let me take my first call. I just finished talking to somebody. You are through to coronavirus, and you, may I know where you're calling from and your name?
Okay. My name is Chitin Saloka.
Thank you so much.
I'm calling you from Western Province. We
are blessed to have you, sir, on the program. You called us last week, so we really appreciate.
Thank you very much, sir. We are following the COVID updates.
Thank you so much. Tell us your views, sir. The big question we are asking today is, what do you think the government should do immediately to start showing hope among the citizens that indeed we are fighting this pandemic?
Okay.
Thank you very much. So, among the things that government should do immediately are the following. First of all, government must convince the people that actually COVID is real.
Yeah.
Because most of us are now thinking that COVID is a hoax. So it should do this by ensuring that all the political and economic decisions must be seen to be paying attention to the presence of COVID. All the decisions they make. That's very critical. In that way,
Yeah.
even us who are led, even us the citizens, shall see the seriousness with which government is trying to continue running the rules of the economy, but also at the same time paying particular attention to the presence of this pandemic. That's very critical. Should they do anything away from this, us the citizens are definitely going to begin to think that the government is prioritizing other things other than the presence of COVID.
Yeah.
So it needs to make serious political and economic decisions in reference to acknowledging the presence of COVID.
Would you want to give some examples in that area?
Okay, so for example, when you are talking of, for example, testing itself,
Yeah.
you may be happy to know that last week, government made some strides in terms of training lab personnel.
Yes.
In collaboration with ICAP. So they were trained in Kauma, they were trained on how to collect, store, and transport COVID samples. This is an indicator to say they have heard what people are saying to say they have to decentralize testing.
Yeah.
And for that, we say thumbs up to them. So that's one good step in the right direction. The other thing is that, like in Western Province in particular, they have proposed that two districts are going to be testing for COVID. I don't know when, but they have to meet some certain criteria. So once you begin to show the people that there is this seriousness, people begin to take this thing of COVID with the seriousness it deserves.
Yeah.
The other thing is the public gatherings. These have not stopped. And it's evident we are not supposed to be scared to see what we see. It's very evident when the health personnel are preaching about social distancing, reducing public gatherings. This is not what's happening. Especially people who seem to be inclined towards the ruling party. So this has caused a very disturbing way of understanding what government is really, really pushing in terms of showing the people that this COVID is here.
Yeah.
An example is what happened, for example, at the courts there, where we saw hundreds of people. There was no social distancing whatsoever.
Okay. So that one has been rectified. I think in the last court session, cadres were not allowed in there. But it's a very important observation you are making. How would you describe the markets in Western Province? Are they as crowded as our own city market here in Lusaka?
They are not very crowded, but social distancing is not really there. It's not really there. Lusaka is metropolitan, so we expect more people.
Yeah.
Yes, but Western Province is a bit more spacious, but there's the market area. There are people there. You'll find some people have got masks, some don't. There are hand washers placed strategically in many places, which is commendable. But the thing is, people are really not paying attention anymore. So I think government should re-strategize in terms of curbing this virus. They should re-strategize with how they are going to communicate, re-communicate this message. Initially, it was very strong. People were paying attention. Then they stopped practicing what they were preaching, and people fell off.
Yeah.
Yes, so they have to re-strategize and reconvince the people, say, this is real, let's work this through together. In that way, people are really going to get on board and begin to take COVID with the seriousness that is so much deserved.
Finally, before I let you go, do you think the issue of public transport is one that has been left to do whatever they want without any control measures?
Yeah, when you deal with public transport, I don't know if it's a formal sector or not, I don't know, to may guide. But you are dealing with people who might not be well vested in health issues. Because these public transports, whether big buses or smaller buses, how often are they disinfected, for example? Even if you say that only a few people will move in them, how many times are the seats disinfected before travel?
Yeah.
So even if you are the five of you in a big bus, the fact that you are able to touch a surface that has COVID, you are able to move the virus. So it's not really, of course the numbers do play a role, but also the fact that how vested with the health education do these guys who are transporting people have?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any last comment?
Yes, you asked your last interviewer a very interesting question that was jittery to answer.
Which question is that? Maybe you can answer it for us.
Yes, guts over fear. I'll try. You had asked him something like, have they done enough? Have the leaders done something enough for the COVID? So I was reading something yesterday, and I'm just quoting. It says, if a political position and a technical position are put in one person, one of them is bound to suffer. Or both of them are going to be successful. In our context, in particular with the COVID, we have Minister of Health with a health minister who is both a health personnel and a politician. So you ask, how has he, as a medical personnel, been able to honestly and objectively push the COVID curbing agenda as a medical personnel?
Okay.
Also, as a politician, what policies, with the help of his technocrats, has he been able to put in order to curb COVID? So between the health part and the political part that are embedded in one person, which one has been successful ever since the COVID started? These are the questions that we should ask ourselves, and basically also try to see if we can move forward.
Yeah.
The numbers are going up.
Definitely.
The numbers are going up, which is not a very good sign. Meaning the health part is definitely failing. So we need to rethink how we are going to resell this to the people of Zambia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for calling our program. Continue listening to the discussion.
Of course, sir.
Okay, so that's another gentleman from Western Province. I've seen quite a lot watching us on Facebook and on YouTube. Please, let's hear from you. We want to see you participate by actively calling in and help us answer this question. Look at the markets. Look at the minibuses, the buses, the big buses. Look at what is happening in malls. Sport has started. Football has started. Even if there are no spectators, but players are not social distancing on the ground, and it's not possible to do that. What should the government do? I want to hear from you. And by the way, if you missed the introduction, officially, as a country, we are still at 1,895, 42 deaths, 1,412 recoveries, 441 active cases, 56,825 tests done. And it's more than 1 week since the minister addressed the nation or updated the nation. We know that the numbers are higher than this. We have seen rumors being mongered on Facebook about how many BIDs are now coming in and how many cases we are, but we haven't yet been officially told by the Ministry of Health. So we'll stick to what we have been told, even though we know for sure that the numbers are higher than that. Okay, so Linda, thank you. When am I being featured on the program? Please let me know when you are available. I'm going to feature you. Googletu from Zimbabwe watching us. Thank you so much. Mlenga, thank you. John Mumba watching us. Thank you so much. And we have Gertrude Mlenga watching us. Thank you. Christopher Kalumba, thank you for watching. Noah Silomba, thank you for watching. Let me take this incoming call. Thank you so much for calling Coronavirus and UTV program. Tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Thanks, Doc. This is Christopher Kalumba, calling from within Lusaka.
Yes, sir. Tell us something about the question we have posed on the program today.
Yes, Doc. I think you've seen in Zambia, people are losing direction in terms of preventing coronavirus, especially I was in Kabwe, and most of the people in Kabwe, they are saying COVID-D is not real and it's for people in Lusaka.
Yeah.
Because here in Kabwe, can't see anyone who in the hospital suffering from COVID-D or any neighbor dying from COVID-D. So I think COVID-D is not an issue here in Kabwe. And you know, in Kabwe, people are living normal life.
Okay.
You'll be on a bus, there's no one wearing a face mask. In town, people are moving freely without a face mask. And it's just normal. If it's to die, people would die in number in Kabwe because they've forgotten completely about COVID-D. So the question is why are people not following those instructions given by Minister of Health by following the specific guidelines on how to prevent COVID-D?
Yeah.
Maybe the issue is the government not putting it as a priority in seeing that COVID is real and also resources actually are channeled in prevention of coronavirus. Because in Kabwe, we can't see any health workers going around sensitizing people on COVID-D, like maybe other places like in Lusaka. And also I find that in some provincial health offices, maybe, I don't know if they do not have enough money. Doc, you may help me, such that the information can be reached in far places, especially in rural areas. Just here in Kabwe, Kabwe is very near to Lusaka, but why is it so? Health workers are not going around sensitizing people on COVID-D and telling them it's real, and also monitoring these passengers before they get on minibuses as they are going into town and also coming from town, so that there's that procedure followed by citizens in adhering to the instructions given by Minister of Health. So I do not know why people are losing directions in terms of COVID prevention. Is it because we do not have enough resources, Or is it also Ministry of Health are now getting tired in talking about COVID, such that now people are left to live in the way they would want to live?
I was in Kabwe a few weeks ago, and I noticed that by that time, Lusaka was very hot in implementing these guidelines, including shops not allowing anyone without a mask entering. But by then, in Kabwe, you could enter a shop without a mask and no one is going to bother about it.
Yes. Now, if you are talking about that time, now it's worse. As in now, it's worse. People, they don't even care about face masks. I was the only one who was even putting on face masks when I'm going into town.
Yeah.
Even when I'm entering into a shop, I was the only one. People have forgotten completely. So the question is that how then should we remind the people that COVID is real and they would die in numbers if you don't follow these instructions given by Ministry of Health? Is government losing directions in terms of preventing coronavirus? I think yes. Because you'd find that you go in these provincial health offices, they do not have funds for COVID, specific of COVID.
Yeah.
Because if you have funds specific of COVID, we could see health workers within town and also in these other places within Kabwe town that they are going around to sensitize people on COVID. So they do not have the resources, or government is not taking it as a priority. Because if it's a priority, we can see those things happening. And also we saw that we had COVID bond and the money was channeled to road constructions and the road maintenance. So the question is why?
Are you sure the money that went for road maintenance was meant for COVID?
So all those questions should ask ourselves, why is it happening like that? So if government is taking as a priority, you could see one, allowances being improved by health workers. The reason of improving allowances is to make sure that health workers don't get tired in talking about COVID. Health workers are boosted to go in the community because they are getting such allowances for the purpose of preventing COVID. But if those allowances are not given to health workers, also maybe they may get tired because there are no much resources. Not only that, also maybe giving them full protective clothing. That will give them motivation to continue talking about COVID and preventing COVID.
Okay.
But if that is not given to health workers, that's why we are seeing that people are not getting information concerning COVID because the health workers are not telling them. Health workers are not sent in these communities. And why health workers are not sent? There's no transportation. There's no funds for these people to be funded as they are talking about COVID. So if there's enough funds, we can see that these issues to do with COVID can come to an end.
Well, Christopher, I would like to thank you. I think your points are very candid. We have heard them. The government needs to do enough about sensitization and also ensuring that resources are made available to health personnel to go out and sensitize people.
Yes.
Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you, Doc.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so that was Christopher Kalumba. Let me pick another call. Thank you for calling Coronavirus and TV program. Tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Good morning. It's Reverend Manduli calling here.
So say that again, your name, sir?
I'm Reverend Manduli.
Thank you so much. May we have your contribution to the question we're asking today. What do you think the government can do?
Yes, what government should do to be able to show seriousness in regards to this COVID.
Yes.
I think I'll concur a little bit with the previous caller.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my addition is that it's just like in a home. If as parents, you know, able to follow certain guidelines and rules, and they are the very first ones to flout to them, even those children, it makes it very, very difficult to be able to adhere to those rules that is put in place.
Yeah.
Government has a duty and a responsibility to ensure that what they preach, they are able to show by example. If they are the very first ones to flout the rules of probably not putting on masks, of being in crowded places with the political cadres and things like that, or they are going for politics, which we have seen so much on various media houses, including our own national broadcasters, NBC, where you see probably the president or maybe ministers donating to certain people, and you see crowds of people that are there, and there is no social distance. But these are things that are being preached, but they are not being practiced. How do you expect the people to follow? And if you go to certain public places, just like if for those of us that are in Lusaka, you go to places just like Freedom Way at Kulima Tower, they are just that's just a case point. But there are so many other places like where you find people are flooded there that are selling. There's no social distance, there's no hand sanitization, and all these health guidelines that are being preached are not being seen to be practiced.
Yeah.
You've just made, I think, reference to your own experience in Kabwe, where you went into a certain shop and there was no guidelines being followed whatsoever, or practices that were being exercised by the general public, or even the shop owners, to ensure that there is enforcement.
Yeah.
This is the case in Lusaka. If you recall, just a couple of weeks ago, when the issue of COVID was heightened in Lusaka, and Lusaka was the epicenter, we saw the adherence. And even our colleagues, that have been in the industry, were able to make money because, people were buying those hand-washing dishes and buckets. And also we saw the cost of the hand sanitizers going up because there was so much, enforcement other than just the preaching. There was also the issue of the enforcement. And I think there was also an SI to that effect of mandatory masking. But today, if you go in certain public shops, and whether it's in malls, shopping malls, or you just go into marketplaces, you notice that none of those things are being practiced whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, it's the issue of government being just being practical. When they say something, they should also be able to follow through. Another example I can give is during the breakdown of cholera, I think it should be 2018 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2017, 2018. Yeah.
Yes, we had that outbreak of cholera. You saw how that was fought by being practical. The president even had to call on the military, the men in uniform, the army, to start patrolling and ensuring. I think all of us could attest to the fact that that was a job well done on the part of government, because there was cleanness in town and people were adhering and there was enforcement consistently until I think the issues of cholera started dying down. Me, personally, I was of the view that we should have maintained those practices.
Yes.
Such that even at the time, though we did not foresee the issue of the COVID coming into play, but if there was that practice, that enforcement was maintained and sustained, I think that by the time, COVID was coming, people would have already, adapted to that practice. This habit also of doing things, just like a hard dog, it comes, you just, show commitment at that particular point. Then a few days later, the whole thing dies down. Look at even the issues of Keep Lusaka Clean and Green campaign. It's like, a campaign thing. It will come today, then a few days later, people will start, even there was those, I think, every Saturday or first week of the cleanness, and then it just dies down. Why? Because there is no enforcement.
Yeah.
And the other problem is because we attach certain important issues with politics. Instead of seeing this issue as a health challenge, we want to attach politics to it. So it's the issue of leadership. I think that here needs to be serious about it. Don't just preach, be practical about it. And then the people will follow. I can cite an example, though probably it's not related to COVID. We saw that the moment the deputy IG issued a statement regarding that the Lusaka magistrate
Yeah.
Yeah. And then yesterday, when we went there, because there was enforcement, you saw order prevailing. So it's not a matter of just preaching, it's a matter of also being practical. Today, man of God, if you go to UTH or you go to Levi Manawasa, the issue of enforcement, though maybe to some extent there are certain places where they are touching that, but certain people are walking in and walking out. They are not sanitizing their hands, they are not putting on masks, even staff in the hospital. So these are serious issues that require enforcement, and also the aspect of funding, because sometimes in places like health institutions, we might blame them, but maybe they are not getting the necessary funding or the necessary to make sure that they enforce these things.
Okay,
so
Reverend.
these are the challenges that we have, and I think to challenge the other caller to say, are you really sure that there was a diversion of funds to road projects? I think it was in media, it was in public domain, that pronouncement. I don't know that funds have been diverted to road projects. So when people are getting these informations, whether they are correct or they are not correct, it's incumbent upon the leadership to put the correct information across. And not only that, but by being practical. So I can say more, but I think that's my emphasis. There's need for government to show leadership in terms of being practical to all these things. I know there are a lot of constraints that also government has in terms of finances, but I think we can do better. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reverend, for calling. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have had 3 calls, and guess what? This has definitely taken all our time. Not sure whether I still have time remaining. I'm told by my director that this is all. Let me just check if any one of you sent a message. This one says COVID needs to do a lot. So I'm not sure whether COVID is the one which needs to do a lot or it's government that needs to do a lot. But thank you for your text. And for everyone that participated, thank you so much. And for those that were watching us on social media, on TV, thank you also. I hope you've been provoked to think. By the way, this question was deliberately asked to see what we think the other person can do for us. But it must also leave us thinking, what should we do about it ourselves as individuals? Yes, the government can do this and this for you or for us, but what can you do yourself? The government is not going to be there to ensure that you wash your hands before or after touching surfaces or handling certain objects. The government is not going to be there to make sure that you are social distancing between you and your friend or your colleagues, your workmates. This is incumbent upon yourselves. And the government is not going to force you to go to the hospital for medical checkups if you don't feel well. We have to do this ourselves. This is how we are going to fight COVID. Next week, it will be another interesting question, topic. Look forward to it. Salivate for it. Thank you so much for watching. As I go, please remember your health is your choice. Bye-bye.
Kosenu maboko enu na njapau. Zachisenu ou umbanda wabindele banambe ngwabo hand sanitizer kushimbo